We are 270 subscribers away from hitting our next goal here on the channel of 37,000. If you want to stay up to date on all things Crimson Tide news, hit that sub button and join the community right here at the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. What's going on, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtry back with you guys here on the Alabama Football Report. We've got some big-time news to talk about today. I guess not really news. I guess rumors really to talk about here today. Some major NFL draft decisions still need to be made, and we'll talk about four guys in particular on this show, as well as a transfer portal visitor that might actually impact whether or not one of these guys ends up hitting the NFL draft this year or not. So as of right now, Alabama has already had 18 guys declare for the draft, run out of eligibility. Either way, it's 18, 19 total guys now. Parker Brailsford actually going off to the NFL draft 1 year early. Kadyn Proctor in that same boat as well. Got a lot of guys at this point that are out of eligibility. And then Simpson also yesterday ended up declaring for the NFL draft. Tim Keenan out of eligibility as well here. And then just a lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball, as well. Got a couple fifth-year, sixth-year guys in Nikhai Green as well. There's a lot of turnover on this Alabama team, but look, there's a lot of teams around the country that are going to have a lot of turnover, and most of those guys are expected. I think Simpson was probably the only one, maybe Parker Brailsford as well, where we were kind of, holding our breath a little bit, seeing what they were going to end up doing. But look, there's going to be a couple guys that we're going to talk about here on today's show that could end up, making a big-time impact on Alabama's team next season. So we'll see what their decision ends up happening there. But I want to hear from you guys down inside the comments section. Could be somebody that is leaving, could be somebody that is staying on next year's team, or maybe it's somebody that you're really just looking forward to next season as well. Who was your favorite player this season for the Crimson Tide? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Now, there's one guy that we're still kind of waiting on some news for. It's Latham. Obviously, he got hurt earlier in the season and really didn't get an opportunity to shine this year. Came back as a sixth-year senior, and, they were moving him from that bandit spot to the wolf spot as that outside linebacker. Ended up injuring his neck and has been out for the entire season here. So no decision on him yet has been made, but he is kind of, as of right now, there's a possibility that he's seeking a medical redshirt. If that goes through, if they do end up trying to pursue that there, he would come back as a seventh-year senior. So still waiting on some news there about Latham. Let's get into the big guys, though, here. Bray Hubbard is probably, maybe not my number one, but maybe my number two guy on this list that I really hope Alabama is going to be able to retain. That's a big key thing we keep hearing, Courtney Morgan talk about when it comes to building a roster here for Alabama. Second-year starter as a junior, and this is what makes me a little bit nervous. He's got a lot of second-round buzz right now, whether that's ESPN's Matt Miller or even, Mel Kiper right now has him as the number 5 safety on his NFL draft big board right now. And Bray Hubbard, man, he was probably my favorite player on this Alabama defense this year, whether it was coming downhill, cracking some helmets, helping out in the run game, and really did some good things in pass coverage as well. He was actually tied with Keon Sabb, who we'll talk about here in just a second, with the highest coverage grade on this in this Alabama secondary. Had 4 interceptions this year. Dude plays all over the field, plays down in the box, they use him as a pass rusher sometimes. So hopefully Alabama can get Bray Hubbard to come back next season and really just help be one of those leaders on the defense next year as well. Keon Sabb, the exact same boat. I really hope they're going to be able to retain him. And it's kind of crazy. Keon Sabb wasn't necessarily the most flashy player on this Alabama defense this year, but when you look at his stats this year, it's not like he was really thrown at that much either. 10 of 18, that's only 55% completion percentage against him. Like I said, he was also tied with Bray Hubbard there for the highest coverage grade per Pro Football Focus. And, I thought he was going to be a guy that could possibly jump up into, the first or second round as of right now. Matt Miller of ESPN has him at a third-round grade right now. So we'll see what happens there with Keon Sabb and Bray Hubbard. But I do think it is notable. Right now, Bama Online is reporting that Alabama is actually going to bring in another safety via the transfer portal here. They have Mercer safety Carmelo O'Neal is expected to visit Alabama on Thursday. 6'4", 200-pound safety. So fits the bill for this Kane Womack defense. Really long, really lanky type of guy. 36 tackles this year. Did have an interception as well. So I don't know if that's the case there. Obviously, a lot of people really like what Alabama right now has, in terms of backups at that safety spot right now, whether that's, Ivan Taylor or, Zay Mincy back there as well. So I like those guys. Maybe there's just another body that they're trying to add back there. But I do think it is notable that they're bringing in a guy in the transfer portal, at least for a visit at that safety spot, because if you lose one or both of Bray Hubbard, you probably need another guy in that, secondary there as well. So get your predictions down inside the comment section. What will happen with these guys in terms of their NFL draft decisions? Type 1, if you think Bray Hubbard is going to end up declaring for the NFL draft. Type 2, if you think Keon Sabb is going to declare for the NFL draft. Type 3, if you think both of these guys are going to be retained by Courtney Morgan and they end up coming back to Alabama next year. Or type 4, if you think both of them end up declaring for the NFL draft. We'll come back with 2 more names here in just a second, including one more name that you need to know. Alabama landed another player in the transfer portal, but first, today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard, but in life and on PrizePicks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every single weekend and elite hoops action almost every single night, the action never stops, and PrizePicks lets you take control. This is a great example of one of the many things that I love about PrizePicks. We've been telling you guys about our Caleb Williams versus Jordan Love PrizePicks selections this week. Well, PrizePicks coming in clutch with the max discount here. Caleb Williams, 99% off his passing yards. Only needs a half passing yard in this game for that one to hit. So make sure, if you're playing PrizePicks, to get the max discount for Caleb Williams, only needs a half passing yard. That's going to happen. So make sure you get those into your PrizePicks lineups this weekend. New feature as well on PrizePicks. They now offer early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And, like I have said before, on PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you're not the most confident in, one of your picks, you can choose the flex play where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. But if you think, you know what you're talking about and you think your, PrizePicks selections are, if you're really confident about them, go for the biggest payouts and go for the power play. But look, no matter how you play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. So download the PrizePicks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is down in the comment section and the description of today's show. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Let's flip over to the offensive side of the ball now and talk a little bit about Isaiah Horton. He was a redshirt junior this year in his first year for Alabama, transferred over from Miami and ended up being your number 3 wide receiver this year. I have seen some second-round grade buzz around him, mostly from Matt Miller, but I will say Matt Miller is probably the only person that I've seen second-round buzz around Isaiah Horton on. There were some games this year where he was utilized early and just kind of disappeared, or, we didn't show up at all, maybe got 1 catch or 2 catches at the end of the game. I don't really know what was going on with that. I don't know if that was a, Ryan Grubb type of thing or, Jamarcus Shepard. I have no real idea what was going on there. But as you look into next season, this is what you could possibly have if Isaiah Horton comes back. You've got Sadarian Morgan coming in that 2026 signing class as well. You might even add another receiver in the transfer portal. There's been some buzz out there about Tony Diaz coming in for a transfer portal visit, so we'll see kind of what comes about there. But look, these are going to be your top 4 receivers going into next season with Rico Scott in there as well. Maybe Sadarian Morgan get some buzz or get some more, get some snaps next year. And maybe you even have a little bit more from Derek Meadows as well. But we really do need Ryan Williams to have a bounce back year. And if you keep Isaiah Horton, he's going to play a little bit more on the outside. Ryan Williams can play out there as well. And then Latsier Brooks and Rico Scott could be your guys on the inside. And we know that they love calling, plays that utilizes the, tight ends as pass catchers as well. So if you can bring Isaiah Horton back, I think that would be another positive addition for Alabama's offense going into next season. So who will be Alabama's top wide receiver in 2026? Let me know what you guys think. Get your predictions down inside the comment section. Who will be Alabama's top wide receiver in 2026? All right, my number 1 player that I really, really hope Alabama is able to bring back next year is Yhonzae Pierre. And you're probably thinking to yourself, Chris, Yhonzae Pierre is a sophomore. Not quite. He's a redshirt sophomore. So still, you just have to be out of high school for 3 years to declare for the NFL draft. So technically, Yhonzae Pierre could be one of those guys that ends up declaring. And, with Quay Russaw hitting the transfer portal and, unfortunately, Quay Russaw broke his foot during that Georgia game. That was really an opening for Yhonzae Pierre to really show what he's made of. He got better and better and better every single game. One could argue, I think maybe him and Bray Hubbard were probably your top 2 players on the defensive side of the ball this past season. Mel Kiper Jr. right now has him as the number 5 outside linebacker on his big board, and that's what kind of makes me think there's a possibility that he could end up going off to the NFL draft. But I think he is a guy with all of these, potentially big money guys that just entered the transfer portal. I would like to maybe see Yhonzae Pierre get a little bit of a raise of whatever he's making right now. Led Alabama in sacks this year, was in the backfield a ton. Might have even led the team. I'd have to go back and look in tackles for loss as well. This guy was an absolute disruptor, whether it was in the run game or the pass game. I really hope they're able to bring back Yhonzae Pierre, as well as these other guys. Some big time decisions right now when it comes to the NFL draft. And, like I said at the beginning of today's show, Courtney Morgan on signing day said one of the, major pillars that they want to be able to build this Alabama roster on is, retaining guys. And these are some of the top names right now that could end up going to the NFL draft that I really, really hope they're able to retain. Now, before we get out of here, Alabama also had another player commit to the Crimson Tide via the transfer portal. This one is Ethan Strangle, long snapper out of Syracuse. So now you have Hollywood Smothers and you have an Ethan Strangle that you're getting out of the transfer portal here. He's going to end up replacing David Byrd as Alabama's long snapper. He ended up hitting the transfer portal after, I guess, getting bullied too much by Connor Talty this year. But look, Alabama ends up filling a need here. Not necessarily the sexiest position ever at that long snapper spot, but Ethan Strangle going to be a member of the Crimson Tide next season.